All right, everybody. It is playoff weekend, and it is time for the breakdown that you've been waiting for. Celtics, Magic, Game 1, going down Sunday. We've got our full preview coming up right here on Green with Envy. You guys know the deal. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. This is a Friday coffee and Celtics edition, which, as you know, is sponsored by our friends over at Wood Island Media. Wood Island Media, a powerhouse production company for the past decade, specializing in celebrity, branded, and social content, based in Los Angeles, but roots in Boston. As always, is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Menakis. Greg, happy Friday. It's probably, I'm going to say this right now. I think it's my favorite sports weekend of the year. First round of the NBA playoffs, just 4 games on Saturday, 4 games on Sunday. Wifey's not gonna love me this weekend. I'm pretty sure I gotta get up and do some yard work in the morning to earn my stripes.
Are we gonna get together to watch any basketball this weekend in person?
I would love to. I was gonna make that suggestion after the podcast, but I would love to get together and watch some basketball, whether that's Saturday or Sunday, whatever day that takes. Like I said, this is, to me, I think, the way that a lot of people view, what is it, the first weekend of football playoffs, when there's like 3 games, or there used to be 3 games each day. Now we got Monday games and Saturday or Friday games. I don't know. NFL does a lot. This, to me, is the best weekend. I just love getting to see all these matchups, and especially where, I don't know if you've looked at the Saturday slate yet, Greg. The Saturday slate is a beast. So we've got Bucks Pacers to kick the day off at noon Central Time. Clippers Nuggets following that. Pistons Knicks, and then rounded out with Timberwolves Lakers. All of those matchups are super, super interesting to me. And I'm just so happy it's the playoffs.
Yeah, T-Wolves Lakers. That's the series I'm going to be, I think, most locked into in the first round outside of the Celtics series. That's just so much fun seeing Luka. Obviously, he's been a blast to watch on the Lakers. And then Ant's transcendence and ascension this year into the level, potentially being on the All-NBA first team.
Yeah.
He's really surprised me with how great he's become as a shooter, as a leader. Bringing that T-Wolves team back into the playoffs when they looked kind of dead in the water earlier in the season, getting used to playing without Cat. And now he's just become, everybody was giving him so much shit at the beginning of the season for shooting so many threes. And now he leads the league in 3-point makes this year. And he's shooting 40% from 3, and he's pretty much unguardable. So I think that's going to be one of the most fun series to watch in the first round. My prediction for that first round matchup, Anthony Edwards averages 40 points a game in that series.
Okay. My man's addicted to shooting on and off the court, riding with Anthony Edwards. All right. I do want to get to these first round series collectively, because I'm just going to pull up NBA.com. I want us to see if we can go through and collectively pick a bracket. We don't got to go super in depth, but I do want us to try to do that here. But let's get into the Celtics here first. So let's talk Celtics Magic, because I think that's what we need to get into here. Magic beat the Hawks in an eventful and uneventful game at the same time in the play-in the other night, where Trae Young gets tossed, a lot of theatrics, but ultimately the Magic were in control of that game basically the entire way through. So we've got Celtics Magic here. It's the 2-7 matchup. Throughout the season, the Magic actually won the season series 2-1. Granted, if you look back through those games, it's all really weird. Neither team ever really played their best team. And of course, Jalen Suggs is out for the Magic. They went through spells with no Paolo, with Franz. So it's hard to pull a lot from this season. But Greg, as game 1 is set for Sunday here, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, once you knew the Magic were the opponent, just give me kind of and we were leaning that this was probably going to be the matchup for the last 2-3 weeks or so. But what was your initial reaction to Celtics Magic?
Didn't matter who the Celtics were going to play in the first round. I think it's going to be either a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. So, it's a fun matchup in that we get to see a rising star in Paolo go up in his first playoffs against one of his idols and Jason Tatum. And for me, it's just cool to think about how Tatum went from being the young guy in the league that was looking up to all these other guys, and now he's the guy, he's the standard, he's the face of American basketball right now. So it's fun to see Paolo Banchero looking up to Jason Tatum, and he's just
How old
ready for
does that
this.
make you feel individually? Just the fact that because we've seen like we lived together Jason Tatum's rookie year because right that's the Gordon Hayward game, the first game
Yeah,
that he's
yeah.
right. And so thinking back to young Jason Tatum, and we were nearly excited to draft Markelle Fultz before that when we didn't, when you don't know how it's all gonna break how it has. And thinking of that baby face Jason Tatum, which that season leads to Game 7, him dunking on LeBron, even though the Celtics lose that game. And to your point now, where he's still young, he's still 26 years old, but because he's now 7 years in the league or whatever it is, and you've got guys looking up to him, it's just once again Father Time never loses, and the two guys sitting in computer chairs with internet access talking, doing a podcast, are the ones that get left feeling older and older each and every time that we talk about these guys.
Yeah, I don't need anything else in my life to make me feel older. I have plenty of things that are making me feel very old, Will. So I don't need to think about how Jason Tatum is making me feel older. But it's just really cool that Tatum's ascension to becoming a top, like unequivocal top 5 guy in the NBA has been really fun to watch. And to see Paolo, he's a guy that you and I are both very high on, going up against Tatum. I don't think the Magic have anything for us. That I don't think, unless there's like a significant injury in this series, I don't think this series can go beyond 5 games. But that's just how I felt. How about you?
No, I mean I'm with you in the overall stance of it. And the interesting part is, right, remember, look back all the way at the beginning of the season. This was my conference finals matchup that I chose to be fair, to be a little bit different. And the Magic early in the season were trending in that direction, right? Like it was feeling like, hey, they got a chance here. If we get the 1, they get the 2, 3, they get somewhere in that 2-3 range, or if they get the 4 seed, like they've got a chance. But with all the injuries, it's been a very inconsistent year for them to have the proper lineups out there. And one thing that I don't think a lot of people saw, myself included, was just how important Jalen Suggs was to this team. Not that he wasn't obviously important, but to the point where it's taken them a while for them to get to 500 to end this season. They had to scratch and claw to get there, right? And that was something that I don't anticipate that would happen, is that Jalen Suggs being, especially when they lost Franz, lost Paolo, and they kind of, kept the ship pretty steady during those times. And then when they got both of those guys back, but no Suggs, that's when they couldn't get back to where they needed to. So I think that was surprising. So I think this might be a year where the Magic are kind of resetting, and they might make some moves in the offseason that take them to the next level and they get everybody healthy. But Greg, I wanted to kind of look at this as much as we can from, to try to give some type of analysis
of course,
to this series. So one way I wanted to look at this was kind of Celtics on offense, Magic on defense, Celtics on defense, Magic on offense, and then maybe like anything that could be an X factor kind of thrown in there. So when you look at the Celtics on offense versus the Magic on defense, Celtics number 2 offensive rated team throughout this season, Magic number 2 defensive rated team, and number 1, tied for number 1 with the Oklahoma City Thunder over about the last 10 to 15 games of the season. So that is their strong suit. And over the last few seasons, this has been a team that we've definitely had our eye on, right? Like this. As much as I'm with you that I can't imagine the series going beyond a gentleman's sweep, it's just really hard to imagine. I'm curious, because we have seen them give the Celtics trouble, what is something the Magic defense does or can do to the Celtics offense, in your opinion, that has given them trouble and potentially could again in this series?
Well, I think they're going to make the Celtics play a little bit out of character to some degree. The Celtics don't turn the ball over, right? We're second in the NBA in turnover rate. And against the few games that we played against the Magic, that rate went up. I think it's like 12% to 16%, right? So the Magic's defense is definitely one of those handsy physical defenses that might be able to get us to play a little bit out of character. They also don't allow a lot of 3-point shots. They're like top 3 in the league in limiting teams to shoot 3-pointers. I think they only allow 35% of opponents' shots from distance, where the Celtics shoot like well over 50% of their attempts from three, right? So that's going to be interesting to see how, like, what do the Magic game plan for to take away some of the Celtic superpowers and make them play, rather than levitating above the earth, they make them play down on earth in kind of a gritty in the mud style. So that would be the first thing that kind of stands out to me.
Yeah, I was listening to a little bit of Zach Lowe and Michael Pina, friend of the show, talking about this on the new Zach Lowe show, which I also, just as a quick side note, I love how much he hates the name, the Zach
Yeah.
Lowe show. He wants to say the Low Post so bad every
Yeah.
single time, but it clearly bothers him that he can't. And one of the things that they talked about was specifically kind of what you're saying, where the Magic, when they have a chance versus Celtics, it's when they remain committed to kind of individually guarding your yard, if you will, like just got one-on-one guarding and not falling into the switching, trapping, doubling, because that's when the Celtics are really gonna kill them. But one of the aspects that's really different for the Magic, and this is where Jalen Suggs, and to me, he really does have a lot of Marcus Smart qualities. He can kind of play to a degree that big ball one that we always talked about with Marcus Smart. And so when you take him off the court, and they've been
I
playing
think
a lot of
Anthony
Corey
Black can do
Joseph.
that to some degree, though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So this becomes a choice for the Magic, and we're going to talk about their offense in here in just a second. And this is where that balance comes in, because Corey Joseph and Cole Anthony, Corey Joseph is just like a professional veteran point guard that can run.
I had no idea Corey Joseph was still in the league until I was watching the game the other night.
I found out like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, same. I was checking around. I was like, I should check in on the Magic. I was like, Corey Joseph's out here, and he's apparently since like midseason, he's been a very, very big part of this team, because he is that just like professional, like table setter, right? Like that's what he can do for anybody as a veteran. And then Cole Anthony, who's just got another guy that can give you a little bit of juice on the ball, which, to be honest, he's their best 3-point shooter at 35%. That tells you a lot about their offense. But if you're going to play them, you're sacrificing that spot on defense. Where, to your point, if you play Anthony Black, he's a much bigger guard who you're going to be sacrificing some of that offense. And that's where that gets really, really sketchy for the Magic. And so they're going to have to kind of make this decision of where can we sacrifice? Because if the Celtics see Corey Joseph and Cole Anthony out there, that's just going to be a hunted matchup, right? That's the killer whale offense at its finest right there. Is go ahead. We're going to find a way to get KP or Jalen or Tatum, in the post or the mid post matched up with these guys, and you're going to have to send help, and then our ball movement's going to get you. And so for the Magic, I think that's the interesting part for them, is defense is our strong suit, but how much can we lean in knowing that our offense can get so bad, and the Celtics defense is going to be just as good or just relatively as good as ours.
Yeah, in terms of like rankings, right? And for players on the Magic that will become a villain in this series in Boston, Cole Anthony's got to be number one, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And I actually was thinking in this same regard, I'm glad he's not here, because I think it's a higher chance for injury. But Mo Wagner's a good one, right? Like that.
Oh yeah, if he was playing, he would be number one.
Like he's the number one guy, right? But he's also the guy that I could see like starting a fight with Al Horford and kind of pulling the Kelly Olynyk, if you will, from years back. And so we don't need any of that. But yes, I think with the players that are left, Cole Anthony is by far the number one culprit.
Yeah, I'd go him. Then Bataze would probably be 2. 3, I don't know who 3 would be out there. Maybe Anthony Black. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think it's TBD.
Yeah,
TBD. Sometimes make the villains.
That's true. But Cole, when I was watching Cole Anthony against the Hawks, I think I texted this. I was like, man, he's such a little bitch. Like I hate this dude.
Listen, every NBA player calls for reviews too often. That dude called for it every single time.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. He kept calling for a review. I was like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, go sit down. Shoot your 3-pointers. Be a microwave guy off the bench. Like, you're not that guy. But no, I jest. Like he's obviously a very talented player. There was moments where I was like, oh, could he work in Boston? But he's gonna be one of those guys. Just as a fan, you're gonna hate watch for sure. Okay, a couple other things I wanted to just like kind of throw out there. So the Celtics, what makes them special is we destroy teams on the margins, right? Like all of the most important statistics, the Celtics are pretty much a top 3 team in. Like, we don't allow teams to get to the free throw line, right? We are number 1 in the NBA. The Magic are second in the league at getting to the line. So I think that's going to be an interesting kind of game to watch, the game within a game, is can the Orlando Magic and the size that they have force the Celtics to be a little bit more physical and foul versus being physical without fouling, which is what I think makes this Celtics team special. So I think that's definitely one of the matchups that I want to watch, is how much can the Orlando Magic get to the line, because they can't hit 3-point shots, right? So they have to find those efficiencies somewhere, and getting to the line is one of them.
Yeah, saying the Magic can't hit 3-point shots is an understatement. And usually we're being a bit facetious, like, yeah, they're one of the worst. They're the worst shooting team, 3-point shooting team in the entire NBA. 31.8%. As I mentioned, I think Cole Anthony at 35% is statistically their best 3-point shooter. And we were talking about this at our men's league game last night a little bit. Franz Wagner shot 29% from 3 this year.
Jesus.
And I haven't watched a ton of Magic basketball since early in the year, when I was like really like, all right, this is a team I got to clock in on. I think I just predicted them to go to the conference finals, so I'm going to clock in and see how we match up. Then with all the injuries, they kind of fell off my radar a bit. And watching that play-in game, whatever is going on with Franz Wagner's shot, he's got that hitch in the middle of it. I went back this morning and I tried to find like an early season game just to see his shot. He's never been a prolific shooter. He's been more like 33-34% at his best, but it at least had a little bit of fluidity to it, or more fluidity than whatever that shot was the other night. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be part of the Celtic strategy is, Franz, if you want to shoot, I mean, a lot of these guys, the Celtics are going to let shoot. And to your point, it's going to be about, can we keep them off the line? And that's going to be led by Paolo, who's 8.8 free throw attempts per game. We're third
Paolo's a
most
beast,
in the
man.
NBA. Dude, it still blows my mind. And this goes back to him at Duke. When you see him on the court, he's just huge, man.
Yeah, he's like
so
6'10 and a half, 6'11.
Yeah. And this is his third year in the league. Like, there's a chance we see him, based on the way that we've seen the Giannis and Tatum body types morph. Like, we could see him continue to get, even bigger potentially, but that is the part that just stands out so much. And so I think Paolo getting to the line, and how does Franz affect the game with his, without being able to shoot the ball. Those are the things that I think I'm really curious to see.
And Jalen has kind of eaten Franz's lunch anytime they match up.
I mean, this is the other subplot, right? Is what does Jalen's knee look like? And
Right.
this is, like, to your point, I think this is a great test. And I've seen other people say Jalen should just sit out, and like, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I know it's not going to happen, so I'm just not even really entertaining it. And so I think this is a great test, to your point of, hey, Jalen, you usually own this matchup with Franz. It's a big reason the Magic, we ultimately usually don't feel like they have a chance. And let's see where you're at. It's a good measuring stick to see where we're going to be at with Jalen here throughout this entire playoff run.
Yeah, and the Magic are such a big team, like we're gonna need Jalen's physicality in this matchup, but we're also, this is a KP series for sure. Like, the Magic are one of those teams that I think force the Celtics' hand into going out and getting bigger, right? That's what I talked a lot about this a couple of years ago. How the Celtics were just too small playing Al Horford at the 5. We figured out a way to get through last season's playoffs with Al at the 5 because we didn't run into too many matchups. And Jason Tatum obviously was able to play bigger, and everybody on the team can play bigger than they are. But I think KP's actual size on the court, and Luke Cornett, I think this could be a good Luke series because the Magic do go double big sometimes, man. They do have some lineups out there with Batase and Carter. And, they could throw out a lineup out there.
Jonathan Isaac is basically a big man, right?
Another guy we haven't mentioned. Yeah, they're huge.
And I want to bring him up because that was it last season? I think you really were like into like Jonathan Isaac when he was, this is why Bill Simmons was so obsessed with like trying to get like, do we have like an under 15-minute award for? I'm like, all right, Bill, you're trying too much, man. I understand what you're trying to do here. But Jonathan Isaac is a guy that we saw at times more so last year than this year because the lineups were weird in the couple of games they played where it's like, oh shit, he's kind of bottling up Tatum a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about this. Tatum's gone to like another level because now he has more answers to the tests, right? He just has more options in his, available to him. And so I am curious. I wanted to get your thoughts. Jonathan Isaac averages 15 minutes per game. If the Magic are going to make some noise in the series, I don't know what the number is, but I feel like he's going to have to play more than 15 minutes a game. Jonathan Isaac will be key for them to have a chance.
Right. But it's like I don't really believe in any individual defensive matchups anymore, just because everybody in the NBA is so good at just like finding the mismatch and going
Right.
like the killer whale offense. Like you put Jonathan Isaac on Jason Tatum, there are so many actions the Celtics can run just to get somebody else on Jason Tatum. And it doesn't even have to be like the weak link on the floor. It's just, oh, we just don't have Jonathan Isaac on him. So you just bring somebody up, you get a switch. They throw
You
two
get
on the ball, get
Franz,
the
you get
ball.
Wendell Carter or whatever. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. And if they end up doubling Tatum, he's gotten so good at getting the ball out early. So I'm not really concerned about that, to be honest with you, Will. What's more concerning from the Magic standpoint, he's another guy that has no jump shot. Right. So Jonathan Isaac on the court, he can't shoot. So if you're going
Yeah.
to play him 20 minutes a game, that's just another guy on their team that cannot shoot the basketball. A couple other things I just wanted to bring up before we move on to some other NBA matchups here, Will. Um, Celtics, we do not give up corner threes. We were talking about the margins earlier. Celtics are number one in the NBA in limiting the amount of shots from the corners. And we don't allow shots at the rim. We're fourth
Mhm.
in the NBA at protecting the rim, just like in terms of frequency of shots coming at the rim. And that speaks to KP's effect. That speaks to Luke's effect. And that speaks to our ability, as frustrating as it can be to, see us go up against a guy like Donovan Mitchell, where it seems like he's just cooking everybody. We can't stay in front of him. If you like really, really think about it, a lot of the shots that these guys are hitting are like these step back 3-point shots or floaters in the lane. Right. They're not just getting like free runways to the basket. I
Yeah.
think that's what the Celtics do a really good job of, is they're going to make you make tough shots. And some guys are just Donovan Mitchell level shot makers. If you look at the Magic, they don't have one of those guys. There's nobody on that team that is a premier shot maker in this league yet. Paolo's the closest thing that they have, but he's, 2 years away from being 2
Mhm.
years away from being that guy, in my opinion. He's still great. He does a lot of awesome things on the court. He can get to his spots, but he's not going to be able to just walk down the lane and dunk on people like he was
Yeah.
able to do in certain matchups this year. So I that's the analysis. You said you wanted to bring some like real analysis. That's the best I can give you.
No, I mean, I'm with you. It's a stretch for me to take this series and be like, hey, here's some real threats. I mean, the Magic are 27th ranked offensive team, right?
Yeah.
Like they shoot 31.8% from the three. To your point, and this is something that from a championship level, I've really started to believe in, is that defensively, you can't have more than one guy that's average or below average and really contend. And then on the flip side, you can't have more than one guy that can't shoot. Right. Like those are the two things
Yeah.
to me. Like when I look at almost all of the true championship contenders, they've got either 5 guys that can go both ways, or they've got 4.5. Right. Like it's a minor limitation. It can't
Mhm.
be, hey, we have 2 guys that can be hunted, or we have 2 guys that can't shoot, unless you have Steph Curry. Then occasionally you can get away with stuff
Right.
if you have shooting like
But
that.
then
But
but then even
very
then,
limited.
like, you really taking the Warriors serious as a title contender? I'm not. But then you
Right.
look at, like,
Exactly.
a team like the Thunder, right? If they throw a lineup out there where like, they're not a great shooting team, the Thunder, but, Isaiah Hartenstein, he can't shoot a three-pointer, but he can hit that floater whenever he wants,
Mhm.
right? So, you have to have someone who is at least a weapon with the ball
Right.
in their hands, right? And like a guy like Hartenstein's a great passer, he's a great facilitator, and he can hit that floater. And there are too many teams in the league that play guys that don't have value on the offensive end. And I think the Magic are one of those one of those teams that
They
have
they just need more
quite a
balance,
few.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not balanced enough, and, I mentioned the shooting. The one thing that as I was digging in trying to see, like, all right, there's gotta be somebody that can shoot better on this team. So I did find one potential X factor for the Magic here, and it's from KCP, who been
Yeah.
overall
I was
relatively,
gonna say we haven't mentioned
disappointing.
him.
And, he shot 34% on the season. He can shoot well above that in his time in Denver and Los Angeles. But in the last 15 games in which I believe that the Magic went, I think they went 9-4, 9-5 to close the season here. Uh, he shot 48.2% on about 4.5 attempts per game. So he is
He's done
coming
it.
in shooting the ball right. And this is a guy that they're going to lean on, is like, we brought you in because you have 2 championships, which is kind of crazy. I didn't even realize this until I was watching. I was like, oh yeah, KCP has 2
Well,
championships.
you know, he if he plays to his level, right, where we've seen KCP be one of the best wing defenders in basketball. I think he's still one of the best screen navigators in basketball. He could, you know, they throw him on Jaylen Brown, for example, if he's able to take Jaylen out of the series or take Derek White out of the series,
Mhm.
just in his ability to, you know, guard his yard. That's just something to think about for sure. They
Yeah.
definitely have those individual pieces, but this is why I think Suggs was just so important. If Suggs and Wagner were both healthy in the series, I think the series could go 6. I just
Yeah,
think
no, I
those 2
mean,
guys are too important.
yeah, this is a team that I think has a ton of potential. It just doesn't feel like the season for it, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think this is a season for them to kind of reassess, and I think they're 1, maybe 2 guys away from making this a real team, and especially with the continued development of Franz and Paolo. And I think Franz got to find the shot. He's got to find the shot to get back to like 34%. You can't be 29%. It's
Mhm.
just, you're not going to be a successful wing in this league.
Otherwise,
And
he's
this
just Josh Giddey, right?
Right, exactly. Like he's got limitations that are going to be tough to build around as your core with Paolo. So we'll see. I think this will be interesting more for, what the Magic may bring in the future. But you mentioned it before. I think we're both in 5-game series. Is that what you're
Yeah.
calling this one?
Yeah, 5
Let me
games.
ask you this before we move on, because I have a pretty strong feeling about this. Which game do you think the Celtics lose?
I hope it's not game 1.
I think it's game 2. I'm penciling in game 2 as the one that they lose. I think game 1 they're going to come out pretty hype. It's the first game, running it back to defend the title. Easter Sunday. I think the crowd's going to be into it. I think that one will be
Lent
good.
is over. People are drinking again.
Everybody's eating whatever they weren't eating during Lent, and yeah, I think game 1 they'll be good. I think game 2 is the letdown, where because potentially I think they could win by 15, 20, some type of double-digit margin on Sunday. And then it's we get a little bit loose, relaxed. It's a Tuesday. It's not the same hype. And
Right.
then it's kind of a smack in the face, and then run off 3 straight and get the hell out.
I would say if I had to make one bet for the Celtics game on Sunday, whatever the first quarter over is for the Celtics, I think I would take the over. I think the Celtics are going to have like a 38-40 point first quarter. They're just going to come out and
Yeah.
everyone's going to be like, oh, it's just going to be one of those first quarters. You're like,
Kind of
oh,
like,
shit.
what was it? The Celtics Knicks first game of the season where they came out. It was like, whoa,
Yeah.
all right. I guess they didn't lose anything. All
Right.
right, here we go. But yeah, Celtics Magic 3:30 Easter Sunday, 2:30 Central Time for Greg and I out here in Texas. We'll have coverage after that game. The plan will be to have coverage after most games this postseason. So most times it's going to be the day after. We'll have something in the morning for you guys, but occasionally for big games, we'll be there right afterwards to give you guys some thoughts. So make sure you guys stay tuned or follow us across all the socials at Green NB Pod. Follow us on YouTube, as well as if you guys have any suggestions, throw them in the email box, celticsnoise@gmail.com. Greg, before we kind of get out of here, I wanted to kind of go through some of these first round series. I'm going to
Do
pull
it.
this up here. And what I wanted to do, let me get this right here, is I wanted to go through and actually pick the bracket with you. So we're
Okay.
going to go through and try to come to a consensus on how we think that these playoffs are going to go. So let's start out here in the West. We've got the Thunder versus, we're recording this Friday morning. We don't know if it's going to be the Mavericks or Grizzlies. I think we're both picking the Thunder here. We don't need to debate that much. 4 or 5 games. What do you want to call it here? Not knowing
Oh,
who
this
the
is
opponent
cool.
is.
4 games. Thunder
I'm
sweep.
with you.
There's
I'm with you. I'm
yeah.
not gonna. We're not gonna
I
spend too
will
much
say though,
time
Will,
on that.
if
Yeah.
Kyrie was healthy, I think that would be an interesting series just because the Thunder struggle with size. So
Well,
Nico
I don't think the
Harrison.
Mavs would be a 10 seed if Kyrie was healthy. That's
Yeah,
what I think. If Kyrie and AD were healthy after the Luka trade, for as bad as that trade was, if Kyrie and AD were healthy, like I think they
I
would have been much
if
more
they
in
were
that.
healthy, I like that roster.
Right. It's just you don't trade Luka for it, but
Yeah.
they would have been, I think, in that, what was it, the basically 4 through 8 mess at the end of the season. They would have
Yeah.
been square in that, I think, if those guys were healthy. But that's why you don't bet on guys with those injuries and trade Luka. You
Yep.
dumbass, Nico. Anyways, but let's go to the next one here. Nuggets Clippers. I'm very curious to get your thoughts on this one right here. Based on NBA.com, looks like the Nuggets picked by 57% of fans, Clippers 43% of fans. Nuggets have the home court advantage. Greg, which way do you lean in this one?
Yeah, I'm going home court advantage. This is a toss-up series for me, so I'm just picking the home team, best player in the world, Jokic in 7.
I want to say Clippers, man, but I just can't trust Kawhi. I just can't trust he's going to
Yeah,
be there the whole
right.
series. So I'm with you, and I think it's going to be a toss up. So 7 games it is. Let's keep it moving
Okay,
here.
here's a question though. If
Yeah.
that series goes 5, I feel like it's the Clippers winning in 5. I feel like there's a world in which the
Dude,
Clippers are just
there's
way
I have
better
another
than the Nuggets.
series that I feel the same way for different reasons. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm with you. Like if it goes quickly, it's because Kawhi's healthy. They get through the first couple games where they get a little bit of extra rest and they're moving on, right? And just the
Yeah.
Nuggets are like, fuck it, our coach is gone. It's just Jokic out here doing 40, 12, and 8 every single game.
Yeah.
And we got nothing else. Like that's what it comes down to. Lakers T-Wolves is the next one here.
It's such a fun series, man.
This is the
I
fun
am so
series.
excited for this series.
You talked about Ant earlier. I think this is a Lakers series, man. I really do. Now, if the Timberwolves get by, I've got some equity that I think the Timberwolves are going to the Western Conference Finals. But
Mm,
I just don't see how they're stopping. And I underestimated how much being able to play without a center the Lakers would be able to do with small ball. Definitely underestimated that after the Luka trade. But I think in this one, it's just I have Luka and LeBron. You have Ant and Julius Randle. I'm gonna lean on Luka and LeBron, and I think they're gonna play or make it really difficult for Rudy Gobert to stay on the court. And yes, they have Nas Reed, but I just don't think that's gonna be enough for Luka, LeBron, and then Austin Reeves in the mix as well.
okay. Yeah, you've convinced me. I'm gonna go Lakers in 6.
I got Lakers in 6 is my pick as well. Rockets Warriors, Greg. The case that you just made
Mhm.
for Clippers Nuggets is
Yeah.
very similar to how I feel about this. In my I've been going back and forth. Ultimately, I think Warriors in 7 is my pick, but
Okay.
the Rockets, I think if they blitz the hell out of the Warriors, they got to get this done quickly. They cannot let this series go on. So if this gets to 6, 7 games, the longer it goes, the more it favors the Warriors to have Jimmy
Definitely.
Butler and Steph and Draymond figure out some type of response. But if the Rockets can overwhelm them on the offensive glass and overwhelm them with athleticism, that's their way to win because end of the day, if you get to game 6 and 7, I'm sorry, Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, and Alperen Şengün as your late game offense it's just not going to get it done in my opinion when you have Steph
Mhm.
and Jimmy on the other side. So if it goes 5 games, I think it's the Rockets. But in my opinion, this is going to be Warriors in 7.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't know if you can hear the baby crying in the background. Apologies if it's coming through. But yeah, I agree with you, man. The Rockets, I'm a Jalen Green stan to some degree, so like I'm really excited for this series to see if there's a world in which Jalen Green just like ascends to a level that people weren't expecting. I think he's a candidate for a jump. I think Thompson, obviously, just with his ability to guard Steph, is going to be interesting. I did have a dream, Will, that Steph Curry scored 63 points in the first game, Rockets Warriors. So I had
Okay,
a
that's a lot
dream
of points.
I had a dream that our friend Liptak's son pulled my dog's tail completely off his body. And I also had a dream that Steph Curry scored 63 points in game 1 against the Rockets. So I don't know what's more unlikely.
All right, realistic dreams is what we're getting here. Let's go Warriors in 7 here. I
Yeah, I'm
think I
cool with
think
that.
I think that's the pick. All right, let's go to the East here. 1-8 matchup, Cavs in 4 or 5.
Cavs in 4.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Moving on. Pacers Bucks. So we got the news yesterday from Shams. Sounds like Damian Lillard by potentially game 2, game 3
That's
might
awesome.
be back in the
I'm
mix,
happy
which
for him.
makes this so much more exciting. This ultimately comes down to the Pacers. I think are even with Dame. I think the Pacers are a better team than the
Yeah.
Bucks, but the Bucks have definitively the best player in the series, and I think you'd take Halliburton over Dame Lillard the way he closed the season, but potentially they have 2 of the top 3 guys in the series. I think I'm leaning Pacers in this one. I'm a little wary of Giannis just going nuts and just being just being something the Pacers have no answer for, but I really don't like the rest of this Bucks team.
What's a more fun second series for you? Is it Pacers Cavs or Bucks Cavs? Because that's really what I'm rooting for here. It's just like the playoffs being as entertaining as possible,
Mhm.
right? In our conversation with Jason Timpf, we talked about like we just want this playoffs to be amazing. When I think about Dame in Giannis and just like the way that they play versus the way that the Pacers play. I think I just prefer watching the Pacers play with that up-tempo style. They don't have the star power, and I really, really hate Halliburton. I just hate his face so much. Um, it's just I could see the Pacers pushing the Cavs to 7 games. I don't see the Bucks pushing the Cavs to anywhere near 7 games. So I'm gonna go Pacers. I believed in the Pacers. I picked them to finish second in the Eastern Conference this year. They really showed me something in last year's playoffs. And as we said, Halliburton was hurt in that series as well. Remember, Nemhard was the guy where it was just like, Jesus Christ, Andrew Nemhard is doing this to the Celtics.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I'm just rooting for entertainment here. I am happy Dame will be available because I think all teams deserve to, be healthy. The Bucks have not had the opportunity to be healthy in the playoffs in a few years. So I think it'll be really fun to see Giannis at his peak, Dame at his peak. Pushing the Pacers to 7, but I go Pacers in 7.
Yeah, I actually think it's even Pacers in 6. And to your question, I think the Pacers give the Cavaliers more trouble just because even though the Bucks have the stars, which we all say are like, oh, I love the underdog. Now we really like to see the big stars play. Like that's
Right.
ultimately what fans actually want, even if they don't want to admit it. They have more answers for Giannis and Dame, right? Than like the Pacers' collective style of play can give them more trouble, just like you talked about the way it did for the Celtics, despite it being a sweep. It was one of the most competitive sweeps that we've seen. I think the Pacers are the answer here. So you said Pacers in 7?
Yeah.
I'll go with 7. Yeah, I think it's actually gonna. I think I'm betting Pacers in 6 because I just really don't like that Bucks team around Giannis and Dame. But we'll see here. And let's go to the next matchup here. We've got Knicks Pistons. I actually think this is Knicks very, very clearly. The more I think about it.
Yeah. I think this is a nice first entry into the playoffs for the Pistons, but they're very similar to the Magic. It's actually funny thinking back. I think it was 3 seasons ago or 2 seasons ago. I picked both of those teams to win a game in the playoffs, and now they're both in the playoffs. Teams I've believed in, but I just think the Knicks are too talented. They've got too many guys that they can throw at Cade. So I'm gonna go Knicks in 5.
Yeah, I think that's the pick here. They just have too much talent. And I was talking about this at our men's league game with our guy Lipsack that we mentioned, who's a Knicks fan. And it's like I think Brunson's the best player in the series. You could make an argument it's Cade, but either way, whatever way you put Cade in that mix of between him, Brunson, and Cat, the next 3 to 4 guys after Cade are all Knicks, right? Like the talent disparity very heavily leans toward the Knicks, and I have no idea what the Pistons are going to do if Cade gets shut off. Where do they go? I have no idea what they do for offense.
A lot of Malik Beasley.
Right, just hoping he hits a bunch of threes, which he did this year. He was unbelievable. But yeah, I just think it's too early for the Pistons with no Jaden Ivey. This is where it will finally really catch up to them not having that second guy. Celtics, we already said both in 5 games, so we're not going to spend much time on that. Let's go to the second round here, Greg. Now we go back up top to the Western Conference, Thunder and Nuggets. And this is where it's interesting, where to your point earlier of like, I want to root for the best matchups. I think the Thunder take care of the Nuggets because I just think they have so much. I think this is, because of Jokic, I'll give it 6 games. In my heart, I think it's probably actually like a 5-game series.
Yeah.
If I could believe in Kawhi being healthy, I think the Clippers versus the Thunder is a different story. I just can't believe that Kawhi Leonard 3 weeks from now is going to be healthy and playing in playoff basketball at the level that we've seen him in the regular season. So we have the Nuggets in this spot. To me, despite Jokic's greatness, kind of getting Bucks vibes here. I'm just not loving the way the rest of the team around Jokic is playing right now. I think this is Thunder in 5, but I'll say 6.
So do you would prefer a Clippers Thunder second round matchup, just pure entertainment value, saying Kawhi is healthy?
Yes. If Kawhi is healthy, if we're getting the full scale of the Clippers, I think that's a better matchup especially if we're looking at this from a Celtics perspective of can the Thunder, can someone give the Thunder a couple of games here so that maybe we can get them, learn a little bit more, get them more tired out by the finals. Like the Clippers are that answer to me. Like with the Nuggets, they have a couple guys that can at least like stick to Jokic, and they just have so much defense on the perimeter that they can match up with Murray.
Do
They
you want to
can,
switch?
you
Do you
know,
want
go
to
up and
switch?
over.
Switch the pick to Clippers in 6.
Not really, because I think I not really, because I just don't believe that the Clippers are going to actually come through. I think
Yeah.
there's a small world in which that happens. So I think this is the right move here. And the Nuggets are who I picked to go to the finals. But I just, when you fire your coach the last week of the season, and
Yeah.
this is where your team's at, like Thunder in 6 is the pick for me in this one.
Yeah. The more when I think about the matchups that Jokic is going to have to go through in the first round against Zubac, like he's not going to be there. They'll probably just leave Zubac on an island, right? I
Yeah.
don't think they'll double team there.
Actually, you know what's real funny about that, Greg? So I think it was, I think maybe it was Rosillo and Frank Isola I was listening to last night, and he kind of made that point. He was like, "Yeah, they're just gonna leave like Zubac," and he gave Jokic's stats, and it was I think 28, 10, and 6 in their games against the Clippers,
Yeah.
and Jokic is so good that it's like, hey, that's not bad. Like, good
Yeah.
job by Zoo, right? Where it's like, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, man, if Tatum has those stats, where like this is absolute bullshit that where he's not number one for MVP, and with Jokic, he's so damn good that 28, 10, and 6 was like kind of contained him. Good
Right.
job.
Yeah, and I think Zoo he's a legit 7-1, right? I think he's actually a bigger human being than Jokic is. So I think that'll be really fun to see them battle it out. And then round 2 going up against Hartenstein and Holmgren, right? Where Holmgren will probably be off
And
ball,
even Lou Dort might get a little bit of time there. You know what I mean? Just big
maybe.
body. Maybe.
Maybe. He's like 6'3", so I don't know
Yeah,
if they'll put
he's
Lou.
smaller than you realize. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they'd put Lou Dort on him. But I think like when you think about sending a double at Jokic with 7'1" Chet Holmgren with a Condor wingspan, I think that would be really interesting to see, because I think the Thunder, they'll go pure double on Jokic and scramble and force everybody else to beat them. Whereas I think the Clippers in round 1 are going to not send any double teams and leave Zubac on an island. So it'll be fun to see Jokic deal with both of those kind of chess pieces there.
Yeah. So who do you got in this one?
Yeah, Thunder in 6.
Thunder in 6. Yeah, I think that makes sense. All right, Lakers Warriors round 2. We get Steph against LeBron, Luka against Jimmy. For me, I've just been, as you have been really impressed by the Lakers. I was, I think if they get by the Timberwolves, I think this actually is a pretty favorable matchup, because it's another team that has to play small ball as well, right? So you're just playing small ball versus small ball for 7 games. And a lot of this to me will come down to kind of, this is oversimplifying it, but Luka and LeBron versus Jimmy and Steph. I'll take Luka and LeBron again. Lakers would be my pick in this one.
Yeah. I think I think the Lakers are going to the Western Conference Finals, man. I think there's a real chance that it's a Celtics-Lakers finals this year. So I'm going to, just for that possibility. And it's like, listen, I'm not a Luka fan. I'm not a Lakers fan. But the fact that the Mavericks traded Luka has me rooting for Luka to some degree, where I'm like, I want him to prove Nico Harrison is such a villain in my eyes that I want, there's like a part of me that if the Celtics, I would never want the Celtics to lose to the Lakers, but if the Celtics somehow lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, I kind of might be rooting for Luka to like get his revenge on Nico Harrison and just be like, fuck you, dude. Like,
just
you
instant
traded me.
karma, immediately
Yeah, like,
wins the
you're
championship.
that dumb. That's like sort of something
Did you see the non-press conference
Yeah,
that he
man.
did the other day, where it's like no audio, no video? Of course, everything came out where he just like didn't answer any questions and kept saying defense wins championships. It's like, dude, you are just making this so much worse for yourself. But I'm with you here. Let's go Lakers. Lakers in 6, Lakers in 7.
I think Lakers in
Lakers in
7.
6. Lakers 7? I'll go with that. We'll go with 7. But just for the record, I think Lakers Timberwolves, whoever wins that, I think is going to the Western Conference Finals. I think both of those teams will beat Rockets or Warriors, whoever comes out of that. So we'll go 7 games here. Cavs Pacers. We said which team is going to be more entertaining against the Cavaliers, Pacers or Bucks. We both landed on Pacers. I think this is a pretty, I don't want to say easy win for the Cavs, but I think this is a 5-game series win for the Cavs. Like, I think the Cavs are, even though the Pacers, I think will give them more trouble, and maybe I'm underestimating the Pacers here a little bit. The Cavs are just better than the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I,
Okay, we'll
I'm
make the
such
case.
a
Make the case.
I'm such a believer in the Pacers, man. And like obviously Mobley, a lot of it has to do with Mobley and his ability to continue to rise up the rankings. Garland, I like Garland. He's just so small out there, man. And like
Yeah.
I think that there's a world in which the Pacers just frustrate the hell out of the Cavs and end up playing. The Cavs are best when they play double big. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think that's their best lineup out there is when they're playing double big. And it's really like Mitchell's the best player in that series, right? So you typically want to go best series. But then it's Halliburton, probably, right? Mobley. Do you think Mobley is better than Halliburton right now?
Yeah, I think he might be. Yeah, I think I go. I
Yeah.
think I go Mitchell, Mobley, Halliburton would be my
Okay.
top three as far as best
I
players.
could accept that. I think there's just a
It's
world in
close.
which
It's close, but
Halliburton could even be the best player in the series. Now, I'm not saying he is the best player,
mhm.
but I'm saying he could play like the best player in that series. We've seen him play to that level, like borderline top 6 MVP level.
Yeah,
Um, and then there's so much good to above average talent on the Pacers team. Like Siakam's a really good player. Um, Nemhart's a really good player. Neesmith's a good player. Nemhart's a good player. Like they have all these guys. Toppin, I really like Obi Toppin and like the
Turner,
stuff that he does.
Toppin. Yeah, Matherin can get hot. He's a
Yeah,
kind of microwave scorer for them.
and they just have
Yeah, I mean,
such a unique style of playing that. I don't see that series being a quick one. I still see Cavs winning it, but I think it's going to be Cavs in 7.
all right. Let's split the difference. We'll go Cavs in 6.
Cool.
Moving on. Knicks Celtics. We won't spend too much time on this right now because I think this is going to be the matchup and we will very, very much deep dive into what I think is going to be a fun matchup. But the Celtics have just had the Knicks number all year. And, we talked about this with Jason Timp on one of our last podcasts, is I found that last game fascinating that the Celtics just were like, hey, we know we can kill them with the Jason Tatum going downhill, pick and roll, pick and pop on Karl Anthony Towns.
Yep.
Let's not do that a single time and just see what else is out there. And they still win the game. And I think it was definitely a bit closer. But when they're not going to be able, Knicks aren't going to be able to avoid the Celtics doing that when it matters.
Yep.
And so, and they're going to have to play Cat. They can't not play Cat. Cat's going to be very crucial to them on offense. But I just think him and Brunson on defense, this kind of gets back to the point we made earlier in the podcast. Like you can't have two guys that the Celtics can go at, right? Like that's
Mhm.
just a recipe for trouble. So the Knicks talent wise are a lot closer than I think this series is going to indicate. But I think this is probably a 5-game series, maybe 6, just because MSG is going to be a tough place to play and the Knicks aren't going to be scared on the road. Maybe it gets to 6, but I really think there's a good chance it's the Celtics at 5.
I'm gonna go Celtics in 6 because I just had a vision in my brain about Jason Tatum yelling at Spike Lee as we walk off the court. So I'm gonna go Celtics in 6.
We'll go Celtics in 6. All right, that brings us to our Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals. Western Conference, Thunder, Lakers, and this is interesting because so again, I think Lakers Timberwolves, winner of that goes to the Western Conference Finals. I also think those are the two teams that have the best chance at upsetting the Thunder. It's going to
Yeah.
be the Lakers and Timberwolves. I'm sticking with the Thunder here, and part of it's going to be once we get past the middle of the first round and then we get through the second round in this round, it's basically every other day. So, we
Mhm.
said the Lakers Timberwolves is going to be a competitive series. We have it in 6 games. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes 7. If the Lakers end up playing the last 3-4 games of the first round right into the second round and then into this third round, and we're going every other night, like LeBron is still 40, right? Like
Mhm.
that's going to take a toll. And we've even seen Luka. This is the little bit of Nico Harrison that he's going to feel a little bit potentially vindicated. He's not always in the best shape. And so sometimes you do see him start to get tired and wear down as the playoffs go on. Granted, he'll be available and he'll play, but how much defensive intensity is he going to give you on a team that doesn't have a lot of wiggle room on that side, despite the defensive statistics, saying the opposite of that they've been a very, very good defensive team since Luka got there. But in the playoffs, that it's just kind of a different animal. And so I think if the Lakers Thunder was the first round, I'd be like, Thunder, better bring their shit here because I think the Lakers could upset them. By the time we get to the third round, I'm gonna have trouble the Lakers maintaining their stamina all the way throughout the playoffs to then get to the finals. So I think for me, this is Thunder in 6.
Counterpoint. The longer the Lakers play, the more chemistry and cohesion they develop since Luka has, just arrived a few months ago. So I'm going to go actually Lakers are playing their best basketball at this point. And I think the Lakers take down the Thunder. Part of it is I don't think I think the Celtics' best path to winning a title is not facing the Thunder. Just like
I agree.
so I'm going to go Lakers because I think Luka is just such a matchup nightmare for them. We saw that just go watch the tape of the last 2 games the Lakers played against the Thunder. Until Luka got tossed in that game, the Lakers were right in that. They beat them by 25 the game before. They are not going to be afraid going into OKC. I think the Lakers are like a nightmare matchup for the Thunder, and I think the Lakers win that series in 6 games.
So how do we decide this year? I think Thunder in 6. You got Lakers in 6. How do we decide this, Greg?
I don't know, Will. What do you think?
This is where we need a third arbiter here. Alex, our video intern, has had to log off here. So what are we gonna do here? What are we gonna do? All right, give me.
What would you rather watch in the finals? Would you rather watch Celtics Lakers or Celtics Thunder?
For the drama of Celtics Lakers and it's LeBron, I would say Lakers, but I really don't believe they're beating the Thunder. But we'll go Lakers for the sake of the podcast here because Celtics Lakers gives us even better material. So we'll go Lakers in 7 games here, just to keep
sounds good to me
here. Celtics Cavs Eastern Conference Finals, again another very likely series which we will go very in depth on should it get to this.
Let me go first here. Let me go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I think in this series, what you're going to see is the Celtics once again playing their best basketball at this point. I know Mitchell was hurt in the series last year, but once again, we did not have a healthy KP in last season's playoffs. Like people just continue to gloss over the fact that the Celtics won the championship without Kristaps Porzingis playing anywhere near full strength. And if KP is able to be healthy throughout these playoffs, and I just have a feeling this is going to be the year that we get a healthy KP. I have a feeling this is the year we have a healthy Kawhi. I'm just really trying to put all those good vibes out there. I just think the Celtics are too good for the Cavs, man. If we're fully healthy, and I think you're aligned with me here, I don't think the Cavs are anywhere near as good as us. I think the only way the Cavs can beat the Celtics is if someone's hurt. And I'm wishing good fortune and good health on the Celtics. And I think the Celtics win this series in 6 games.
Yeah, I'm with you. They split 2-2 in the regular season. 2 wins the Cavs had. Game 1, no Jaylen Brown, no Derek White. Game 2 that they won, no Drew Holiday, no Kristaps Porzingis. Full strength on full strength. They can't beat us. Injuries, that will change it, and we'll give you that breakdown if that's the case. But honestly, even with one guy out of those main 6 injured, as long as it's not Jason Tatum, I think there's still a chance the Celtics could win that series. I think it certainly gives the Cavaliers a better chance, but at full strength, which is what we're looking at right now between these 2 teams, I don't see it. Celtics in 6.
I think that's a Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis series where you're like, damn, the Celtics.
That's
those
the
2 guys too.
When you get there and you're like, okay, we can match up 4-on-4, and you're like, wait a minute, you guys still have Drew Holiday, who's all NBA defense every single year. You still have the original unicorn. It just becomes overwhelming at that point. And then we get to Lakers Celtics, and I think this is finally where the Lakers, it runs into a bad matchup for the Lakers.
Yeah,
I think the Celtics can go double big and still be on the perimeter with those guys, so they can get the size out there and still be able to. And this is specifically with KP and Al Horford I'm referring to, as far as that double big, and even potentially a little bit of Luke and Al is a potential to run out there at times. But even aside from that, they have the wings that can kind of match up with it. Most teams don't have a third guy that can guard Austin Reeves. The Celtics do. They have 2 guys that can actually do it, in addition to the Jays kind of matching up with Luka and LeBron. So I think for me, if this is the matchup as opposed to the Thunder, which, listen, if it's Celtics Thunder, I'm still riding or dying with the Celtics, but that's one that does give me some pause, and I'm going to be concerned about. With the Lakers, I think this is Celtics, and I'll say 6 because of Luka and LeBron, but actually, fuck it, Celtics in 5.
Okay, let's think about this. So Celtics beat the Mavs in 5 games last year.
Mhm.
Luka didn't play well in the finals. Kyrie was completely locked down in the finals last year. Like, you gotta give Luka with LeBron, Reeves, and just like a better supporting cast one more game, right? It's not going to be 5 games again.
Hold
I
on,
think
let me
it's
ask
going.
you this though.
Okay,
'Cause you're right. LeBron's definitely better than Kyrie, and you got to give that credit and
yeah,
having Reeves there. But after those three, and you look at Kyrie and Luca, like the supporting cast of the Mavs versus the supporting cast of the Lakers outside of those top three, I don't think they're that dramatically different as far as like
last year's Mavs.
with PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Derek Jones, like that compared to Rui, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Jackson Hayes. Like, I don't think those are dramatic.
Don't
Like,
don't put Jackson Hayes in there, man.
okay,
It's
yeah, I just ran out of who else I was thinking of here to put Jared Vanderbilt. Let me put Jared Vanderbilt in there
right.
instead. But like those three versus like PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, and Derek Jones, like those are pretty
I
equivalent in
like
my opinion.
Rui. I like Rui. I
I like
like
PJ
DFS.
Washington. I like Rui too, but I'm just saying they're not like dramatically different
Right,
as far as
right. Yeah,
quality.
but I'm saying you have Luca and Kyrie versus Luca,
Mhm.
LeBron, and Reeves.
Yeah,
Like
in Reeves. No,
that's
I'm with you. It's
that
that is
3 is
different.
so much better. And they're gonna put pressure on the Celtics where, like, Austin Reeves could have a series against the Celtics because we're gonna have so much attention on LeBron and Luka. And he's still so good, man, and he still plays so well against the Celtics. I think I think that's a 6-game series. I think you're um being a little too, I don't know. I don't know what the right word is, but 5 games seems like far-fetched for the
Yeah.
Celtics to win
I
that in
I I
5,
mean,
but
again, this is part of my reason I don't think they're getting by the Thunder
yeah.
is the timing is just not on the Lakers side, right? If they have to go the way that we have this mapped out, they're going 6 games against the Timberwolves. They're going 7 games against the Warriors, 7 games against the Thunder, and then they're getting to the finals. Like, I
Yeah,
just
I
don't think
feel you.
time's on
Celtics
their
in
side as
5.
well.
Okay, I'm with you on
Yeah.
that.
So it's a couple of those things. So yeah, Celtics in 5. They're your NBA champions. That's going to do it for this episode here because I got to get going here. I've got to get to my day job. But Greg, playoffs are here. I'm super excited. I can't wait. We'll be back after game 1 on Sunday. We will have breakdown for you of that first game, and then throughout the rest of the series and playoffs, we'll be hitting you with coverage. Greg, any final thoughts here before we send the people out?
I gotta get to work. I gotta get to work too.
All right, everybody, enjoy your work day like we will, and we will catch you guys on Easter Sunday. Peace.